Hello, folks. Welcome back to yet another episode of Koi Nahi Baat Batao, or should I say, the first episode of season 2 of Koi Nahi Baat Batao. IITs and IIMs, the top brands of the country. People often say that these colleges hold the sharpest minds of the country. What makes these colleges so special? And are these colleges so special? Let's hear it from the man himself. Today we have Samarth Mehta on Koi Nahi Baat Batao. He is an IIM Kozhikode graduate and currently he's working in the founder's office of Liminal, that is a crypto startup. And he's also been running a podcast of his own by the name of Thinking Out Loud. So after this episode, do check it out because he has some amazing guest lineup. So highly recommend it. And yeah, I guess without any further ado, let's dive into the conversation and have some fun. Okay. Hi, Samarth. How are you?
Hi Dhruv, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor for me to be here.
The pleasure is all mine, sir. The pleasure is all mine. Okay. So, Samarth, with this, we have this one ritual on Koi Nahi Baat Batao that the guest coming in introduces himself and then we go with the conversation. So, please go on introducing yourself.
Okay. So I hail from the city of Calcutta. I finished my schooling and undergrad in computer science from Calcutta. And since the very beginning, since 2016, 2017, when I started my undergrad, I was deeply inspired by the startup ecosystem. I was one of the first early interns to work with an academy in the marketing and content space. And that's how my entire startup journey began, if I may say so. And while I was doing my undergrad in computer science, I actually published six to seven research papers in AI, ML, and all of that. But slowly through the process, I realized that, hey, this is not meant for me, and I need to do something different, right? Like, I don't align myself with this, if I may say so. And through that realization, I ended up taking CAT, got into IIM Kozhikode, had two of the best years of my life over there, did a bunch of things from startups to case competitions to student body activities, traveled a lot, made a lot of new friends and all of that. And post IIMK, when COVID hit, I joined a boutique consulting firm called Consulting, where I worked with startups, private equity, venture capitalists, etc. While I was working there, the urge of working full time at a startup was always there. And I was like, hey, I need to just take the plunge and do what I really like. And through the process, I joined my current organization, Liminal, where I work in the strategy and operations team along with the founder. Beyond that, I do a lot of things on the side. I already have my own podcast called Thinking Out Loud, where we get founders, VCs, creators. I create content on LinkedIn. I've been a part of multiple creator programs on LinkedIn. And I also work with a lot of startups in different capacities as a consultant, as an advisor, as a mentor, and also help students, with their career and growth journey and all of that. So net, keeping things very short and tidy. This is what I do. This is what my journey has been. And I just feel this is just the start. There is a long way to go.
Okay, this wasn't short at all, Samarth.
I try to keep it as short as possible, but yeah.
Okay, so as you're doing so many things, tell me what's your daily schedule? मतलब दिन भर में manage कैसे करते हो ये सब?
I think many people will come and say that time management आना चाहिए, optimize for time, and all these heavy words, right? Like, um, from the outside they might sound very interesting, very fancy, and all of that. But I think it's the simpler hacks that you put into place, which just makes the difference, is what I feel. So I mean, I divide my day in a very systematic manner, wherein when I wake up, I have a day ka calendar in front of me with all the things that I have to do. So if there is something like, for half an hour you have to, or I have to read something, to research on something, that also goes in my calendar. That 8 to 8:30, you have to say research on deep tech. So when everything is there in front of you, right, you don't forget things. So it's like iske baad ye, iske baad ye, iske baad ye. So your mind is also framed in that manner. So that is one hack. Then essentially I start early, right? So less time to procrastinate. So I wake up, I do my daily course, and I start by 8:39. So that by the time it's 5 or 6, majority of my day job, office work is done, which still gives me 2 to 3 hours on a daily basis to do other things on the side. So it's not that I'm neglecting office work and doing other things. Office work is being done, and at the same time, I'm doing other things as well, right? With regards to content, also, so I try posting almost every day on LinkedIn, right? Something or the other. So the morning first half an hour is just reserved for me to think about what content will I put out today and putting out that content. So the entire day gets, assimilated in such a puzzle sort of a manner that everything has its place, and you are getting time for everything as well. And at the same time, I also make it a point that I have to go out daily. So I meet my friends on a daily basis, right? So it's not that I'm just working or I'm just partying. There is a middle out ground.
Okay. So with me, there's this thing that when I try to be, productive, I try to plan my day. I have a to-do list in front of me right now. So when I try to do all these things, there are days where I don't feel like doing anything. Do you have the same days?
Yeah, 100%. There are days wherein you just absolutely feel boss nahi karna hai kuch, matlab kuch hi nahi
Right.
karna hai, right? Like it's so ingrained that you don't really even want to move out of your bed, right? But again, on those days, what is a good habit is कि आपको एक छोटी चीज लो but उसको पूरा करो. The reason why I'm saying this is that if you have one entire slack day, right, so next day also आपको थोड़ा मन करेगा कि यार आधा दिन chill मार लेते हैं, आधा दिन काम कर लेते हैं, right?
Correct.
I'm not saying that you become a workaholic, but I'm also not of the opinion that you have big ass slack days in the middle, right? Because then coming out of it and getting back to work becomes very difficult. So if it is like you have to send an email to someone and you have
Hmm.
been delaying that for say 2 days, 3 days, on this slack day of yours you send that email out. Just take that one task, right? That आज email भेजने का है, भेज दिया, done. But
Right.
then that just keeps your brain active, that boss you're not completely shut down. मतलब एक task था वो आपने कर दिया. It can be as minuscule as sending a mail, and then next day it will be easier for you to get back on track. अगर पूरा दिन if you would have been very lethargic, then it will be very difficult for you to again start working. So that's a small hack that I follow, to be very honest.
Okay, that was a great tip, by the way. But there's this one question which is in my mind from for so long, that you said you have published 5 to 6 research paper in your
Yeah,
undergrad, and then currently also you take out time to research about stuff, right?
yeah.
So is that pure curiosity, or you do that for a reason?
No, it's pure curiosity, right? So understand this. In our parents' generation, right? So I'm
Hmm.
considering that they are one generation, we are another generation, right?
Okay.
So in our parents' generation, in a span of 25 years, say from the time they were born till the time they reach 25. I'm 25. That's why I'm taking that time span, right?
Hmm.
They did not see too much of change. Now, if you consider you or myself, right, from the time we were born till current day, when I
Yeah.
was born, there were those dial-up phones wherein you have to do this and then a recoil happens. When you do this,
Right. Right.
then a recoil happens, right? And today we are like, I mean, at the helm of technology, peaking, and technology just growing and growing, right? So consider the amount of change that we have seen in 25 years versus they have seen. So the change that we have witnessed is almost 100x more than what they have witnessed in a span of 25 years, which just means that evolution, change, tech innovation is going to happen at a more rapid pace. So even if you are not doing it from a curiosity angle, you need to do it to keep yourself relevant. You might be relevant today evening, but you will be relevant tomorrow morning. So again, it is just an amalgamation of my curiosity along with the motivation to stay relevant, because it's going to be very difficult to stay relevant in today's day and age if you are not at the top of the things that you do, right? So again, the long story short, relevance and curiosity.
Okay. Even like after the after advent of Chat GPT, I have been realizing that even I am a curious brain, because even the slightest thing hits my mind, and then I have the resource where I can check it, because on Google you can't find everything, right? But on Chat GPT, if you ask him, wow, ask the software anything, then it'll give you the response, and it'll explain it to you that why this happens. So back when ChatGPT was new, I asked it the question that why sky is blue, the Raman effect, right?
Mhm.
Then there are many different questions which are coming into my mind. So I guess AI being like talking about ChatGPT specifically, AI has sparked this curiosity in me, because before that, even if I had the question, I would just say ठीक है पता चल जाएगा कभी तो, या फिर just leave it, focus on the work. So I guess that's something which is really good about AI. Then I wanted to ask you, ये curiosity बचपन से थी या अभी अभी आई है?
I think it was always there, right? So I am guessing, given your title, you're also Gujju, if I'm not wrong, or you're not a
Yeah,
Gujarati. Yeah.
I'm not
So
exactly a Guju, but I'm a Jain.
yeah,
Banya.
even I am a Gujju Jain. Yeah. So again, for such families, right, from the beginning, even though you might be from a fortune family, right, like you have tons and tons of wealth and everything, you are still taught to be very independent. And my parents have always done that, right? Like they are like, पैसे हो या ना हो, तुमको भाई अपना उखाड़ने का है. Like you are on your own, we'll support you in whatever way we can, but you need to create an identity for yourself. In school, I was, till school ended, I guess, I was always a very not shabby but a shy kid. Like I not shy also, but a very studious kid, right? Like you just study, you get marks. So I have always been a topper across my life, across degrees and all of that, right? But the difference between college and school was, in school I only used to study, I didn't do anything else. And in college and MBA, I only used to do other things and not study, right? So the difference that I saw in both these cases is that in school, while I only used to study, I still was very dumb. I wasn't smart. And what I realized late, but it's a very big fact, is that marks can't get you anywhere, right? Like it's purely your knowledge and how good you are with implementing that knowledge, right? So again, you might be a great podcaster, Dhruv, but you don't know how to implement it, right? Like
Yeah.
your content might be crazy, but your production and post production might be pathetic, so no one cares about it, right? So you might be great with, say, mathematics, scoring 100 and 100 everywhere, but if you don't know how to apply mathematics to a linear algebra, computer science programming problem, then what is the use of that knowledge that you have, right? Or what is the use of that 100 that you have? So essentially that just hit me at a very early stage, right, in my 11th itself. And again, an FII, and I wouldn't even be able to converse properly in English till 9th or 10th or even 11th for that matter. I was that bad, right? And I was from a Christian school, a convent school, where it is English first, everything else is secondary.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that piqued my curiosity that nahi yaar, kuch to alag karna hai. And once that bug bites you, then there is no stopping. It's just a snowballing effect where one thing leads to another, second, third, fourth, and it just goes on. So it's more like an exponential growth curve that you start seeing after a point in time.
Okay. So talking about the parenting which you
Yeah,
mentioned, that being a bania, being a guju, you are taught to be independent, right? What is
correct.
your take on this, what do you say, parenting thing? Because these days when I am in college, because okay, I'm quite an uncle of my age, but then this hits me that how will I be as a parent? So have you ever thought about it, or what is your take on parenting in general?
Okay, that's That's a very interesting question because I was having this conversation with someone else, right? So ideally, my take on parenting with our generation, like if we become parents, that is very skewed. That either we will become very good parents or we will become very bad parents.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
There's no intermediary sort of a thing that is there, because either we'll be super understanding, available for the kids, helping them grow in whatever way possible, or we'll be so emotionally unavailable, unaware about things that it'll be a nightmare for the kids, right? So it's gonna be a very polarized sort of a situation that will come for us. Um, but again, given the whole parenting thing that you spoke of, right? I think for me it was very beneficial in terms of my parents being very supportive of what I always wanted to do, right? And I think this is something that I would want others to also listen, is that in startups we use this term very commonly called proof of concept or proof of work,
Yeah.
right? What that means is, if you have a hypothesis and if you can develop some working model around that, then लोगों को लगेगा अच्छा नहीं चल रहा है, right? For parents also, I think because of that innate attachment that they have to kids, they want the safest, secure, comfortable environment for their kid. And when someone goes and says that, hey, I want to do this, which is like completely opposite to their thought process, they'll be like, bhai, what the fuck are you doing? Like, do you have brains or what? But you need to essentially show them that one two smaller proofs of concept, that bhai kar liya मैंने
Hmm.
बोला, I proved my worth, right? Then they are like, acha nahi, this kid can figure shit out for himself, right? So I think it's more about calming them down, sitting them down, and explaining this to them, and then showing some example, right? Because ideally, over here, and just reiterating to what I said, right? The change that they saw from 0 to 25 is much less than what we saw from 0 to 25, right? So it is also very difficult for them to adapt to it in the way we have adapted to it. सो
Right.
आइडियली इन सम सेंस, हाँ, उनके उसमें भी कुछ खराबी है, हमारे उसमें भी कुछ खराबी है, बट नेट नेट आई थिंक वी विल बी आइदर अ वेरी बेटर पेरेंटिंग जनरेशन और वी विल बी a worse of parenting generation. There is not going to be any in between. That's something that I'm sure about.
Okay, this thing is really fascinating that you said the proof of concept thing. I was talking to my friends, my flatmates, 3-4 days back, and there's just general notion these days that people don't have good connection with their parents, right? Like some people have great bonds with their parents and some don't. And what's the defining factor in between is that the people who don't is because they have the reason that they don't understand me, right? They don't let me be. And we were talking about this and we agree to this fact that proving yourself to your parents is really necessary because they want the best for their kids. And
Correct.
until and unless you don't prove it to them that yes, I am built of something and I can do something on my own, till then they will be a little what do you say, what's the word, they'll be a little possessive, if you might say that please don't do this, you should study, this is a set path by the society that you should study, you should go to a good school, good college, and then get a degree, get a job, do a business, whatever. But until unless you prove yourself in doing something else which you really like for me this podcast was the thing that initially my parents were like, think about it, like it's not costing you any money, do it because it's COVID, you have your time, but just think about it, will you be able to give your time, or will you be able to grow it to some level, or will you be able to have good people on your podcast? So for that matter I was like, just I'll prove it to you in 6 months. And after 6 months I had Manish Pandey on my podcast, the
Yeah.
social media giant. So for proving yourself is really important till you want that independence in your life from your parents. And this very interesting question which I have for you is, what were your career plans in 12th class?
So I think, this way I consider myself very lucky, is that since class 8 I was sure I wanted to do an MBA, right? So
Since class
my
8?
since class 8, and that too the clarity was at a very granular level, that I want to do it from an old IIM. So ideally the top 5 ABCA LK, right? Like उसमें से ही करना है. I was always fascinated by economics and computer science, so much so that I dropped science in class 9th and took up economics and computer science because I just loved that combination of subjects to, my likelihood, right? And yeah, then I ended up doing computer science in my undergrad as well. And that just validated the entire narrative that no, I want to do an MBA, and also an MBA from an old IIM. So it was only the top 5, nothing else. If I and I fortunately was able to crack it in my first go. Had I not cracked it, I would have done it again, right? But the goal, the agenda was clear since class 8 that it is going to be an MBA. It is going to be from the top 5 IIMs in the country, or else it's not going to happen.
Okay, तो किसी को ऐसे देखा था कि यार like we have people in our family ना कि we look up to them कि यार he has graduated from an old IIM. For the audience, first of all, the old IIMs are Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Kozhikode, Lucknow, and Indore. These 6 are the old
Yeah.
IIMs, and they're also referred as Blackie. So yeah, did you look up to someone?
So I think in terms of education, right, like for my immediate family members, I think I am the highest educated person. If we compare to say my parents, grandparents, my dad's brothers and all, because they've done their undergrad, some have even done their masters, but like from the US and stuff like that. But it's okay, like from very okay colleges, right? So in my close family circle, there has been no one who has managed to do an MBA from an Indian B school, that to an IIM, right? So there was no benchmark or father figure type, if I may say so, for this criteria, right? Like I was on my own. There was no one to mentor me saying that Samar, do this, do that, right? Like even when I was planning on dropping science in 9th, no one told me कि ये गलत है कि सही है कि इसको थोड़ा और सोचो, क्या करना है देख लो फिर डिसाइड करो. So it was more of a experimental journey. You try, you fail, you stand up, you try, you fail, you stand up, right? So that's how it happened. But somehow, I don't know, I read it somewhere when I was in 7th or 8th that IIMs are there, and this is the culture. And that time obviously we are too young to even understand what culture means and all of that. But it was just very fascinating, and I'm like, हाँ यार ये काफी interesting लग रहा है, right? So um, then 2 states came out, and I'm like, whoa, this is what happens. Whoa, what in an IIM, right? So that just piques your curiosity as a kid, because at that time
Right.
it's just whims and fancies. There is no clear cut agenda that हाँ ये करना है, right? But then when you go to college, you basically look at different things, and that's when you realize that acha, this is something very different. This is something that uh, you know makes a lot of sense for me. So that's when I decided that नहीं यार, करना तो MBA ही है, ये तो पक्की बात है. अब कैसे करना है, कहाँ से करना है, वो फिगर आउट करना है, बट हाँ MBA ही है, एंड दैट टू टॉप 5 आया है.
Okay. अब IIM पे आ गए हैं, तो let's talk about IIM and CAT first of all. So for the audience, first of all, I'll be clearing out what CAT is. CAT is Common Admission Test, which is conducted by Indian Institutes of Management, that are IIMs, and it has 3 sections. That is Quant, that is your maths; Verbal and Reading Comprehension, that is your English; and DILR, that is your Data Interpretation and Logical Reasoning. So Samarth, what were your strong parts and what were your weak parts, and how did you go preparing for CAT?
I think I did around 10 months of CAT prep, if I may say so. Took 60 plus mocks from various institutions, and I mean, ideally, my strong suite always had been LRDI. That was where my strength lied. But in the day of CAT, right? I mean, I got an equal footing in all three. I wouldn't say it was very great. It was somewhere in the 98s, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, it was an equal score across the three. Like I performed at the same level across all three sections, if I remember clearly. So it was not like one section was harboring the entire CAT score. So yeah, that was there. And plus, in our year, I think they had made both quants and DIL are extremely tough, at least in my section or in my slot, right? So that was also there. Plus, even in the exam center, the guy who was sitting beside me, he was, just bugging me constantly through the exam that, hey, can you show your screen, answer dikha de type, right? So if you basically complain, you're just wasting on your time, right? So through all that nonsense also, you are just solving, right? So yeah, I mean, it was a great journey. Got to know a lot of things through the process, made a lot of friends while preparing for CAT, if I may say so. But yeah, to answer your question, it was an equi score that I got across, the three verticals.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, what was your CAT percentile?
I was 98 point something here. I mean, I don't remember the number after the decimal, but yeah, it was 98 point something something.
And what all colleges called you for interview?
So given that if like I was from a general category, with that my best call was Kozhikode, and
Okay.
Cap and Shillong, right? I did not get an indoor call, and I had not applied to any other schools like MDI or IFT or all of that, right? So for me it was either IIMs or you take it again. So majorly it was Cap and Shillong and Kozhikode. So yeah, that was the gamut of calls that I'd gotten.
So you were very lucky to get into your top call, and also an old IIM to say.
Yeah, it was, and again, that journey also is very interesting because I am Kozhikode from that year had two rounds of shortlisting, right? So one is
Oh,
the initial round. After that you need to fill your 10, 12 scores and other things, and then uske baad there was a second
yeah.
shortlisting for the PI, right?
Right, right.
So I prepared like for a month or a month and a half for the PI, and it was a crazy preparation journey that was that, like almost for an IAS interview sort of a thing. And the PI went great. Like it was smooth. Like couldn't have been any better. And I was hoping for a convert, right? Like I was sure that a convert will come. And when the results came out, I was waitlisted at 249, which was insane. So at that time, I realized that, boss, this is not going to happen. There has to be a contingency plan now, right now, right? Which is essentially taking up cat and also taking up job at the same time. So I had offers from Uber, D Shaw, I mean Uber Eats, D Shaw, and all of that. And people were also advising me that summer it's not going to move, right? So don't think that it will move that much. But it happened so that that time around the number of buffer calls or initial buffer calls that were given were relatively less, and waitlist movements happened, and essentially I did convert IMK. So it got converted in, I
Okay.
think waitlist 6 or 7, but yeah, it got converted.
Wow. So I would just say that was pure luck. Matlab, you had one call which converted that, and hats off to you for that. Also, tell us something about your interview experience. Were there any, odd questions? Because IMs are known to ask odd questions like what's the weight of a plane, and all this. So did you had any, what do you say, an odd
um
question in your
so
interview?
So honestly, I was, fortunate in that sense that my interview was very smooth. Like I did not get any such wacky question, and I think that is also a matter of fact as to how you are controlling the interview, right? Because the interview at the end of the day is in your control. How you drive the interview is how the interview conversation moves forward, right? Um, I did not get any such wacky questions. Like I was fortunate enough to not get wacky questions, and the reason why that was there because I was able to structure and give them very, you know blocked answers for all the questions. It wasn't like I was answering that saying that, oh, okay, so can you give me 2 minutes to think, right? Like it was not that. Question answer, next. It was very smooth flowing, right? So the reason why interviewers ask such questions, right, it's just to take you off guard, that अगर इस बंदे को या बंदी को प्रेशर में डालते हैं तो let's see how they reply. or let's see how they
Mhm.
respond, right? Like that is essentially how, or that is essentially why they ask these questions, is to gauge that how good you are with this entire answering the question wala thing, or how good you are at handling pressure. So like you said, that when they ask what is the weight of an airplane, they don't want the weight, they want to understand your approach to getting to that answer. What approach is Dhruv taking? What is the logical sequencing that he's following, right? That's how you come to the answer, or that is what they are essentially looking at. That Dhruv ने पहले ये बोला, फिर ये बोला, फिर ये बोला, so he can make coherent logical sense, or he can make coherent logical loops, if I may say so. So that is what they essentially look at.
What do you think? An IIM professor, while taking an interview, looks in your profile and looks at your personality to give you the admission. What do you think?
I think in crude terms, right, they just take in people whom they can sell. It's as simple as that. Because you are a product that they have to sell to a company, right? Because the biggest outcome of a B school is to get a job, right? So if they are taking you into the college, they are taking you with the mindset that how easy will it be for them to sell you to companies. That is how easy it is for them for you to get a job.
Okay. And also, you said that you had those blocked answer when you were answering your
Yeah.
interview questions. So, what went into the preparation for those answers? Because even I appeared for, in say easily 10 to 12 interviews for the past 2 months. And I'm sure that it's not an easy task to give those blocked answers, because a question comes to you when you are not expecting it, right? So, how are you prepared for those blocked answers?
So I think it's very simple, right? Like with each line that you've written on your CV, you need to have material which allows you to talk for 5 minutes at least on each line. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
Whatever you're writing on your CV or your resume or your cover letter about yourself, what you have done, what all are you associated with, make it a point that you have at least 5 minutes of content to talk around it, right? So, um, I mean, again, right, like if they are trying to intimidate you with stuff that you don't know, you answer with so much breadth that they get taken aback, right? Like, okay, this is a lot of content. So when you provide them areas for them to pinpoint on, they will ask you a lot of retaliating questions. When you're providing them with a plethora of information, you are not giving them an opportunity to basically ask you stuff, right? Like if you're giving a very wholesome entirety wala answer for a question, where will they stop you? Because it's one information flow after the other. So ideally it's more of a hack sort of a thing, so that you don't fall into the trap of backfiring or interrogative questioning, if I may say so.
Okay, fair enough. And also, this is how you drive an interview, right?
Essentially, yes, right? Like interview prep is all about how to manage the flow when the ball is in your court. So
Okay,
interview is basically that ball. The interviewer will start by saying 9 out of 10 times, Dhruv, please introduce yourself.
right,
तो बॉल तो आपके कोर्ट में दे दिया, अब आपको क्या बोलना, what all things you want to mention, what all things you want to avoid, it's all in your hands, right? Like क्या
correct,
बोलना है क्या नहीं बोलना है, सब आपके हाथ में ही तो है.
right. And then after these interviews, you joined IIM Kozhikode, right?
Yeah,
And acha, one thing is that Kozhikode,
कोई कोड.
Kozhikode, and
No, it's
what is
कोई कोड, it's कोई कोड.
it's Kozhikode? Okay,
So
so
technically, it's Kodi code. So in Malayalam, ZHID. It's pronounced as ID. If I can make it more clear, so it's Kodi code. To be very honest, not Kohi code. Also, it's Kodi code. To be honest.
okay. So let's stick with Kozhikode. So after joining IIM Kozhikode, how did your life change?
I think I have spoken about this, times innumerable, right? But what happens is that you are getting people who are across age spectrum, right? Like from the youngest was a guy who was 1 year younger to me, and the eldest was like 10-12 years elder to us, right? So you have a lot of people across the age spectrum. B, you essentially have a lot of people from various walks of life, right? Like working, freshers, doctors, architects, blah blah blah. So ideally, the way it changes your life is that it helps you think in a more broadened fashion, right? You are exposed to things that you have never seen, right? And understand this, right? Like you are in a college with 400 other students, and all with same brimming energy, same knowledge, same enthusiasm, same willingness to learn, right? So it's like a world in its own. Like you are not aware about what's happening outside. There is so much happening inside, from events to sports to competitions to student body activities. It's like it's a fairy tale in its own. So ideally, people who've not had exposure in life, right, with all this you get so many things from knowledge, network, resources at your disposal, that you can do a lot of things. You can learn a lot of things. So I think it's just a very personality changing yet shaping experience, if I may say so, which changes you, or most IIM folks say that it brands you for life, right? And there is a lot of merit in that statement, that it actually brands you for life and you become a different individual altogether. So the person you were before joining a B school and the person you come out as post college ends is very different. Like you just change. So when I joined at the age of 2021, I was a kid. I was literally a kid. When I graduated, I was 23. But those 2 years had mentally made me mature by, say, at least 5 to 6 years, if not more, right? That is the level of impact that a college like an IIM has on you. Like it just broadens your entire thought process, if I may say so.
And I'm guessing it was very different from your undergrad college.
100%, 100%, right? So undergrad kids are dumb. Everyone is very immature and just very youthy, if I may say so, right? IIMs is not that, right? You are given more freedom, independence, with the thought process that, boss, now you're mature, you can handle your shit, right? So that is the correlation that gets introduced, if I may say so, right? And again, you in undergrad, it's still very shy, and still people are a little conservative, not really open to mingling or talking to people or whatever, right? But in a postgraduate setup, right, those things change. People open up more. People are more open to having mature conversations, right? And for my batch, the thing is that we saw all the waves of COVID. We've seen all forms of MBA, right? So that just
Right.
uh, tight knits you even more, right? Like you've seen friends in front of you getting calls from their houses saying that, hey, your mother was hospitalized yesterday for COVID. Today she's no more. So you've seen people lose jobs. You've seen people losing out on internships because companies don't have money during COVID. You've seen a lot of things, right? So it just makes you much more aware about your surroundings, of your people, and all of that. So ideally, to yes, B school does that, but because we were the COVID batch, if I may say so, for us it was like a notch higher than the rest.
So, when all this was happening, were you on campus or at home?
So we've seen all the waves, right? So when the first wave came, we were on campus, we were sent back home. Our summer internships became virtual. Then during the second wave, we were some were at campus, some were at home, because they were slowly starting to open up campus. Then we went back to campus. Then the third wave happened, so we again came back home, and we did not have a convocation. So it was a flurry of events that had happened, to be honest.
Okay. And today, if I ask you, are you connected to IIM Kozhikode in any sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, majority of my friends right now are from Kozhikode. I keep getting invited to college for a various set of events. In my previous company, I also managed the placements process for Kozhikode and all of that. So the relationship with your alma mater is not gonna go anywhere. It's just gonna go, or it's just gonna grow deeper and deeper in with time. So I think for whatever or whoever I am today, I owe it all to IIMK. Like that college, that experience, those people just made me who I am today. And I'll be like forever indebted to that place. So that's that.
Beautiful. So after I am Kozhikode, which company did you join?
I joined a boutique consulting firm called Red Sea Strategy Consultants. It's based out of Bangalore.
Okay, and what does the company do?
So it's a pure play strategy consulting organization like your MBBs. The only difference being that their major clientele lies in startups, private equity, venture capitalists, etc., etc. So that's their area of play.
बहुत सारे MBA words बोल दिया आपने. Okay, and after graduating from IIM Kozhikode, you worked with a company, and then after that company, did you join Liminal, or was there
Yeah.
something in
After
between?
that, I joined Liminal. So college, then Red Seer, then Liminal. So that's the progression till now.
Okay, and why suddenly content creation?
So I think that was very serendipitous for me, right? Like I never really wanted to do content. My first interaction with content was back in 2016, I think. Sorry, when Quora was started. Quora
Hmm.
became very popular at that point in time, and I used to use Quora to write answers and also read because I was very curious with the way things used to come on Quora, and I think that just helped me improve my English as well, right? So that was a brief time when I was introduced to content, when I wanted to write and all of that, and then it stopped there, right? Then it so happened that post IIMK, right, I was reading more and more about the ecosystem, right? Like the startup ecosystem. I was talking to founders, understanding problem statements and all of that. And I just wanted to share my thoughts the with the audience at large or with people at large, right? And for the same reason, I just started writing on LinkedIn, like just to voice my opinion that this is happening, without any thought of monetizing it or making revenue out of it or whatever. None of that was there. And it so happened that people started appreciating what I was writing, and there was a lot of engagement that was coming, and people were up, started following me, started sending me DM saying that, hey, can you explain this, hey, can you explain this, and all of that, right? And then one thing led to another. I got through one of LinkedIn's creator programs, and I got through another LinkedIn's creator programs, and people started calling me as panel members for webinars. Like a lot of edtechs I work with, they started calling me for all of this, and just one thing led to another, and that's how it became a snowballing sort of an event. And then I was like, ab ye to ho gaya. I wanted to do a podcast, and that deliberation started happening, and then we were finally able to conceive an idea for the podcast. So the podcast also happened, right? So a bunch of things came together for the materialization of this entire content creation journey, if I may say so.
Okay, I'm personally very curious about this fact that does the brand of I am Kozhikode helps you in getting guests on your podcast?
Not exactly, yeah. I mean, no one even cares that I am from an IIM or not, right? Because
Okay.
again, all those brands and all work in the corporate ecosystem, right? In MNCs and all that. Acha, tum IIM A se ho, B se ho, IIM K se ho, right? In the startup ecosystem, it's all about what skills are you getting on the table. तुमको क्या आता है, right? So उसमें it does not matter what pedigree you come from, right? Like obviously the pedigree does contribute in some sense to your overall imagery, but it's more about who you are, right? Like who Dhruv is, or who Samarth is, or
Okay.
what Dhruv has done, what Samarth has done, right? So it's all about those things. So no one really cares कि आप IIT से हो या IIM Bombay से हो या IIM Bangalore से हो, whatever, right? It's about the people you know, and over here work speaks first, everything else second. If you've done things to prove your work, लोग देखेंगे वो और बोलेंगे अरे बॉस ये तो तुम बढ़िया काम कर रहे हो, and they will want to come. So that is the long story short in terms of does the IIM brand name help in any which way.
Okay, and also this. Okay, I'll ask you it on a very straightforward note. What is this one thing which you hate the most about the content consumption of today's era?
I think people consume content in today's era in a very unaware fashion. So it's an infinite loop. You are not consciously consuming content, it's just going in, right? Like you need to be selective in terms of what you want to consume and what you don't want to consume. So I am very selective in terms of what content I'll be consuming. If it's YouTube, it's a podcast, it's Instagram, whatever. So I have like Instagram notifications turned off on my phone. So I'll only be seeing Instagram when I'm opening the app, or else I'm not.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
In LinkedIn also, like I have unfollowed most of the people that I know, so that my feed gets cleaner. So I will
Hmm.
only be reading posts of people whom I really want to read. I'm not going to read everyone's posts, right? So the biggest challenge with today's generation is aimless consumption. You're just consuming for the sake of it. You're not aware about what you're
Right.
consuming.
Okay. Fair enough. And okay, what's your vision with the podcast?
I think my vision with, or rather Samyak and mine, both our vision with the podcast is very simple. That there are two angles to look at it. One is from a personal learning experience. That through the podcast we are getting to meet some great individuals, some great founders who've built phenomenal products, and the podcast just helps us expose ourselves to these individuals. That's the first part. And secondly, it's about educating the people, right? So I mean, there is a lot of white space that is there, where someone can't access, say, someone like an Arjun Vaidya, but through our
Hmm.
podcast they can get a lot of their queries resolved in terms of how to build a D2C startup, how to scale it up, right? What are the problems associated with it? So this is the two pronged approach that we have, that one, khud ka learning, b, helping others learn. And with more and more episodes coming out, with we getting better and better guests, we would also want to in some sense improve on the production quality as well, in terms of what we are releasing, so that people also have a great time visualizing, seeing, and hearing our podcast, right? So if they are investing 1 hour of their time, they should learn great things. Like they should come back or come out of it and be like, हाँ यार ये नई चीज सीखी, ये नहीं पता थी.
Right. Okay. And if I'm not wrong, your co-host Samyak is also a colleague at Liminal.
Yes, he's my colleague at Liminal. And again, both of us know each other since the past 15 years. We used to live in buildings that were 2 minutes apart. So it's a long way back in time.
Okay. So tell us something about Liminal. What is Liminal?
So Liminal is actually a Web3 startup. We work on the infrastructure tech side of things. We are trying, and again, there is a lot of, um, bad word, bad mouth about crypto businesses as of now. So we are in the process of building a regulated, legal crypto infrastructure business, so that the problems that we saw in terms of FTX and all never happen again. So we are just in that process, to build a better regulated crypto business, if I may say so.
Okay. And like, what do you think is the best part of working with a startup?
I think the best part about working with the startup is, you just get to learn a lot of things, right? Like when you are working with an MNC, right? You are very restricted to whatever your job role is. what I mean by that is, अगर आपको XYZ चीज करने को बोली है तो आप वो XYZ और XYZ चीज ही करोगे. You can't do anything else, right? Now the advantage of working with a startup is, one day you're working on product marketing, next day you're working on legal, third day you're working in finance, right? So you are getting to build things ground up, right? कॉर्पोरेट्स में व्हाट हैपेंस इज, अगर आपने कुछ प्रोसेस बनाया, आपने 10 लोगों के लिए अप्रूवल में भेजा, एंड यू नो ऑल दोज अप्रूवल्स टेक 2 weeks to come. Then once the approval comes, then you start working on the execution, and you know it's an infinite cycle. With startups what happens is, आज प्रोसेस बनाया, 1 घंटे में अप्रूवल, दोपहर तक एग्जीक्यूशन, शाम को गो लाइव. So you get to instantly see the change in front of you, right? So again, the thing with startups is, and this is what my founder says a lot, so he says that even the CEO's position is at grabs, right? So if you are able to prove your
Right.
worth by the work that you do, आप CEO भी बन सकते हो कंपनी के, बट वो मेंटल ड्राइव होनी चाहिए.
Okay. So I would like to put it this way, that MNCs are democracy and startups are, monarchy, if I'm not wrong.
उल्टा ना, MNCs are monarchy, मतलब
Oh, right,
senior,
right. I just missed, yeah.
yeah.
I confused between two words. So, yeah. For, okay, coming back to the crypto thing, what are your views on Web3?
I mean, can you be a little more specific?
Like, people are skeptical about Web3. People are skeptical about cryptocurrencies. There are sentiments in the market that it's just a bubble and it will burst very soon. What is your take on it?
I think Web3, Web3 as a technology is going to just become bigger and bigger, right? I'm not commenting on the use cases per se, but I'm talking about blockchain as a technology, right? It just makes everything so transparent, scalable, yet secure at the same time, that there is no naysay as to why it will not, move forward. There have been a lot of, bad mouthing, if I may say so, with regards to Web3 right now, because a lot of scams happened, people lost a lot of money. But what people are not understanding is that these businesses that played out in some sort of scam, right? They were all non-regulated businesses. Okay, now Web3 came into existence in 2010 or 2011, like that was the time where people started coining that word for the first time. In normal use case or in day-to-day use case, it was actually existing from 2016 or 2017, right? So net, it's been 6 or 7 years since this technology is actually being used at a mass level, correct? अब 6 से 7 साल सिर्फ हुए हैं ये टेक्नोलॉजी को मास लेवल में यूज करे. यू कांट एक्सपेक्ट टू that entire industry to get regulated in 6 to 7 years, because people are trying to understand the use case, boss. उसमें ही आप अगर रेगुलेशन घुसा दोगे तो लोग समझेंगे कैसे? So again, I think what people need to understand over here is that it's not something that is going to go very quickly. It will take time. लोगों को टाइम लगेगा ये सारी चीजें समझने में. But Web3 is the technology of the future. If not right now, say 10 years down the line, but it will become mainstream, right? And the day it does become mainstream, then people will be like, अरे यार तब पहले opportunity थी, उसमें अगर capitalize कर लिया होता तो we could have compounded our wealth a lot. But it's going to stay there. That is for sure. In what form, in what use cases, can't really comment, but Web3 is going to be there.
Okay, and do you hold cryptocurrencies and NFTs?
I used to, right, but like of late, I have liquidated most of my holdings across assets, not just Web3, but everything else, because right now, the way the markets are, right, you cannot really trust anything. No, you can't trust equity, you can't trust, digital assets, you can't even trust, debt as well, right? With everything that's panning out. So I used to hold, but for now I am not. I'm having a more bearish approach to things, if I may say so. But yeah, that's the answer to your question.
And what's your take on investing? Like looking at the markets, you withdrew your money, right? And when the markets will be booming, you'll be putting your in your money again, right?
No, I mean what I meant was that I'm just trying to rebalance my portfolio, right? Like I don't want to expose myself to that extent that I'll be bleeding open. Like I don't want to do that. So I just rebalance my portfolio. Plus, I am a big fan when it comes to personal finance, investments, growth, and all of that. So I keep reading different things. I have tried my hands at numerous investment instruments as well, right? But with time, what happens is that because you have so many things to do, either you can focus on growing your money or earning money. You can't do
Right.
both simultaneously at a compounding pace, right? Because when you're talking about personal finance and investment as well, you need time for researching. You can't just blindly put your money at places and be like, "Arey 10x ho jayega, 100x ho jayega," right? That does not work that way. So yeah, so right now I prioritized learning and earning over compounding, if I may say so. So of late I've not been able to do too much research or dedicate a lot of time over here, to be very honest.
When you talk about numerous investments you have made, like in numerous type of assets, can you please name some unique assets?
So I have money invested in 12% club, which wherein it's the Bharat Pay product that is there, where you
Yeah.
put your money and they give you 12% per annum returns on your investment. I have tried Grip Invest, which is again an alternative investment instruments wherein they invest into EV and other such assets and they provide you different returns on it. I invested into I've invested through Win12, which is again the bonds that are there, so they are making bond investments easier. I have invested into digital gold, gold leasing, and all of that, right? So these are some of the unheard or not so common investment instruments that I have put my money into. But yeah, that was more from a research perspective, that क्या returns are they giving what they are promising, right? So that was the underlying thought process behind putting money in those situations, if I may say so.
ओके, एंड अब आप यहाँ पे हो ही तो एक मुझे एडवाइस दो कि सी आई इन्वेस्ट एंड आई हैव माय इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इक्विटी एंड क्रिप्टो करेंसीज, ओके.
Yeah,
And for me, my because I am a really naive investor, I have invested in companies which I trust in, and I have invested in cryptocurrencies which I trust in.
yeah,
And what what my mistake in investing is that I don't know when to exit.
got it.
So the how should I look into the portfolio, and how should I make my decision to exit an instrument, or should I be invested in it? Because for now, when you say the markets are very, you can say, uncertain, I have my money invested and I'm like, ठीक है 10 साल में तो बढ़ ही जाएगा.
I think there are 2 3 ways to look around this, right? Like say if you are someone with a medium risk appetite, right? Then I would say that you should put money into crypto of that stature that you are willing to lose, because crypto is a risky asset, right?
Right.
So if it's like that, मैंने 10,000 डाले and you are like, hey, even if I lose this 10,000, it's fine for me. मतलब my life
Hmm.
won't get affected in any which way, right? So then you put 10,000 and be befikar about it. That I don't care. Like I'll look at it after 10 years. But if you are someone who's actively looking at crypto investments, right, then you will probably need to track currencies. What is the market cap like? What is the daily volume like? What is the transactional volume like? And whenever you are an active crypto investor, you should always make it a point that 80% of your currency portfolio should be top coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, all of that, right? And remaining 20% you can fuck around with other currencies, like you buy shit coins, meme coins, and all of that, right? So even if
Right.
that 20% takes a hit, 80% of your crypto portfolio is still fundamentally strong with Bitcoin
Yeah.
and Ethereum and all of that, right? In terms of equity also, right, you like being a one-off novel or new investor, what you should keep in mind is that boss ये मेरा breaching returns limit है. ठीक है? So say you are investing in Tata Power and you have kept the limit as 8%, right? Like when I make 8% on my investment in Tata Power, मैं 50% इसमें से withdraw कर दूंगा. So you are in some
Okay.
sense just trying to cover for your losses, right? And then you will be like, अच्छा ठीक है, ये 8% से मेरा वो तो निकल गया. अगर बाकी लॉस में भी जाता तो then it's fine. I have still made my money. But if you are like नहीं मेरे को वो भी नहीं चाहिए, then you can be very clear that hey, when once it hits this much amount, right, in terms of returns, I liquidate, I go out.
Okay.
So
So you have to set the caps.
you have to set the caps, but then once you start becoming an active investor, once you start analyzing markets better, then you can be like, hey, इसको ऐसे देख सकते हैं, इसमें इतना रिस्क मार्जिन है और इसको पुश कर सकते हैं. So that becomes a different ball play. But जब तक आप वहां नहीं रहो, like till the time you are not at that level, start keeping brackets for yourself. कि लॉस में भी मैं 4% 5% लॉस खाऊंगा, अगर आई हिट देयर मैं बेच दूंगा. That's the loss
Correct.
appetite that I have. So that's how what should I say, train your brain in terms of investing. That कहाँ डालना चाहिए, कहाँ से निकालना चाहिए, right?
Okay.
So again, these are small nuances that you might want to follow as a beginning investor, if I may say so.
Okay, one last question about investments. I have invested in cryptocurrencies, which I believe that fundamentally are strong.
Yeah.
Ethereum and Solana, to name them. And because they are the most advanced blockchains available out there, in my opinion. So,
Hmm.
am I doing the right thing? Because people often tell me that investing in cryptocurrencies, looking at the fundamentals, is just a stupid game.
See, the thing is that yes, I mean, to some extent, what they say is correct, right? But any sort of investment will only prove prudent value when it is fundamentals driven, right? अगर अभी क्रिप्टो के उसमें बूम भी आ रहा है, तो you are seeing that Ethereum and Bitcoin, for that matter, are the ones that are outperforming everyone else. So if you are someone who's looking for very short term gains, that एक हफ्ते में मेरे को अपने इन्वेस्टमेंट को 1000x कर लेना है, राइट? लाइक दैट्स व्हाट हैपेंड व्हेन डोजकॉइन जस्ट like
Yeah.
blasted out, right? Take that risk. You also have a negative 1000x possibility as well. कि
Yes.
पूरा ही पैसा गया in 1 hour's time, right? So if you are someone with that level of risk appetite, go for such tips. But if you are someone who's like, no, I want to play safe and I want to compound my growth, then you stick to the fundamentals. That's why I told you that 80-20 principle, that 80% fundamental currencies, 20% you fuck around. You buy the most shitty meme coins that are possibly there on the exchange. You buy them out.
Okay, great. And also, what's your work in Liminal, if I may ask?
So again, right, my work is more like a founder's office job wherein you need to do everything, right? Like consider
Okay.
this, that you are a miniature founder. You need to work from product marketing, stat, operations, finance, legal, and it's more like an internal consulting team within an organization, right? You take up a project, you execute it end to end, and you hand it over to another team. You move to a new project, take it up, execute it, hand it to the team. That's how it works.
Okay, enough about your work, your content creation, Liminal, enough about that. Now let's talk about you as a person.
Yeah.
So, समर्थ, सबसे ज़्यादा आपको मज़ा क्या चीज़ करने में आता है?
I think traveling and meeting people. Yeah. I am very chill when it comes to meeting people. I just love meeting new people, learning their stories, their experiences, and traveling, and everything associated with the concept of meeting new people, going out, new experiences. So I can, you tell me that hey, Samar, this new thing is happening. Let's go and do it. I'm like, हाँ चलो, right? So anything that is around community travel, new experience, meeting new people, um, going out to parties and all of that, right? Like that's something that I would be like, हाँ चलो, let's do it.
Okay, and do you get to travel from your work?
I mean, not essentially for work, but the things that I do on the side, give me a lot of opportunity to travel to different places. So that's an upside that is always there. For work also, yes, at times you get to travel. But yeah, like net, this is how the larger picture is.
Okay. And अब now comes the uncle question. अब क्या plans है? मतलब ऐसा कुछ सोचा है कि 40s तक पहुंचते पहुंचते ये सब करना
No,
है?
I don't think so, right? Like I used to be that person who would think that 30 tak ye karna hai, 40 tak ye karna hai, and all of that. Right now, it's essentially about taking a day at a time. Right, like you maximize on one particular day, and then you see to the next day. Right, so there is no plan of action or blueprint or SOP or whatever you want to say in terms of कहाँ जाना है, कहाँ जाएंगे, क्या होगा, nothing like that, right? It's all about आज ये है, आज इसको maximize करते हैं, फिर कल देखेंगे. So it's more
Okay.
like a day in the present वाला thing.
You're living the ZNMD life now.
I mean, once you start growing, growing and maturing, and when you see that movie, you realize that how much of sense does it actually make, right? So
Okay.
and I think this is what a B school also teaches you, right? Like every day is so fun filled, and there is so much happening that you wouldn't want to think that, hey, what will happen once I graduate, right? Like कहाँ job मिलेगी, कहाँ settle होंगे, ठीक है हो जाएगा यार. See, that's the thing about B school, right? Like it'll put you in the deepest of problems, and it'll also provide you with resources to figure out that problem or solution to that problem, right? Which is
Right.
essentially something that life is as well, right? It'll put you in the deepest of shit. It'll also provide you with the resources to figure out that shit. So that's that.
Correct. Very well said. And also, when I listen to all these IIM stories, because specifically I'm from commerce background and I want to go to an IIM. So when I listen to all these IIM stories and all the fun you have, it actually give me goosebumps that in, let's say, 2-3 months I'll be going to a good B school, hopefully. So
Mhm.
do you have any advice for me for before entering the B school?
Um, I'll try to keep this as short as possible, right? I'll just say have the best time of your life over there. Like that's all that I'll say, because people will tell you नहीं CV बना लेना, ये कर लेना, mentally ऐसे रहना. You'll have a lot of people come and give you a lot of gyan about all that, right? See, at
Hmm.
the end of the day, what I know is that the best guy in my batch also got placed. The worst guy in my batch also got placed. Okay. Yeah, there is salary differences, job differences, but 10 years post you graduating from B school, right? Everything averages out. It's just the
Okay.
first job, boss. And if you are smart enough to crack a B school, you are smart enough to do something good in life as well, right? That's what I strongly feel and believe. What you will regret is that, yeah, these were like the two best years, fulfilled, like filled with freedom and all of that. And I spent most of that time worrying about job kya lagegi and all that. I'm not saying that it's not important. It's very important, equally important, right? But not at the cost of your happiness or mental health. So enjoy those 2 years, make a lot of friends, make a lot of memories, and especially the biggest learnings at a B school comes from your peers. It's not going to come from your books nor your profs. It's going to be from peers. So learn from them. And then you will be like, no, this experience was actually fruitful. This experience actually changed me as an individual.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much for that. And okay, my last question is that आप free time में क्या करते हो?
So yeah, I'm like I can shamelessly say this, but when I'm free, I'm either out, I'm either partying or at a friend's place or playing games, or I'm just on a call with friends, right? So I'm not a Netflix person, I'm not an OTT person. Whenever I get free time, I am out. Like I just go out. I like the innate desire to just meet and chill and hang out with your friends is so high that for me all these new Netflixes and all don't really make sense. So if I am free, I'm either playing a sport or I'm out or I'm doing something.
Okay. And are you connected to your home ground, Kolkata?
Yeah, so right now I'm in home only. My job is remote, so maximum majority of the times I'm at home. Baki times I'm traveling.
I mean, I was asking about the emotional connect.
No, I don't really associate much with the city because too backward, not really in line with what I want to do in life. Plus, majority of people leave, right? Like majority of my friends from Calcutta have also left, so not really that much of an attachment per se. Whatever attachment that is there is because my parents stay here, so that's there. But beyond that, there is nothing that I dearly love about the city, to be honest.
Okay, great. So चलो, I guess that's it because next time भी बात करने के लिए कुछ होना चाहिए.
For sure, bro, for sure.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming to Koi Nahi Baat Batao and enlightening us with all your wisdom and all the learnings which you have had till date. And acha, my last question to you, that wasn't the last question. The last question to you is, how did you feel coming to Koi Nahi Baat Batao?
I think it's always great, right? Like whenever someone invites me on their podcast, what I essentially try to do is that through the conversation, both of us learn, not just you, but
Yeah,
both of us, right?
great.
And it's always good to share stories, especially from my MBA journey, right? Because it just one conversation and it just sparks so many emotions within, and you just get to relive that entire journey through one conversation, like I had with you right now, right? So always good to see young folks in India trying to build and create better content, create better products. So I think that is also super amazing. But yeah, overall great experience, had a lot of fun, and I hope the entire audience also makes some use of this conversation.
Yes, hopefully. And also, I'm looking forward to having you again on this podcast someday,
For sure,
and
for sure.
we'll meet for
I
sure.
hope I hope that happens in a physical setup.
Yes, I hope for the same too. And also, I'll be linking all the social media platforms of Samarth Mehta in the description. And
For sure.
also, he's been running a podcast of his own by the name of Thinking Out Loud. Samarth, will you please take over?
Yeah, so thinking out loud is something that Samyak and I we started last year. Samyak being my co-host and my colleague, and thinking out loud is a very unique proposition where we get VCs, creators, and startup founders. Because what we are seeing right now is that a founder can be a creator as well. A creator can be an angel investor as well. A VC can also be a creator as well, right? So what is happening, what is the underlying analysis behind this, right? Like क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है, that is something that we try to demystify through our podcast.
Okay. And I'm just my word on this. Please do check out his podcast because he has some really huge people coming on his podcast every week, and I am a fan. I need to learn many things from him now. And also make sure you follow Koi Nahi Baat Batao on Instagram so that you are well connected with all the updates which we'll be giving out in the future with season 2. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Thank you so much, Samat, for being here.
Pleasure, thank you
And
so much for having me.
the pleasure is all mine, sir. Okay, so that be it for today. We'll be taking you guys a leave, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay tuned, keep learning, and peace out.